So years ago, I was invited over to a friend's house for dinner who I had known when I was much younger, and he was not Catholic, but after he got married, him and his wife kind of took up with this evangelical church, and he really is a really good guy. But during the dinner, his wife went to the bathroom, and so he says to me, just to let you know, we've decided to make our marriage a biblical marriage. Which at that point raises in my head, well, what does it mean by biblical marriage? So his name was Bob, and I said, well, Bob, if you mean that part of the Bible where Paul says, wives, be submissive to your husbands, if that's what you mean, that's not really what Paul meant in the Greek. And I explained to him that the word submissive in Greek, actually, it's a military term, meaning you'll sacrifice anything for victory. And I said, and what Paul writes is he does write, wives, be submissive to your husbands. But then he turns around and says, husbands, be submissive to your wives. That out of love, you'll sacrifice everything. And I said, it's not about one person having dominance over another person. And so my friend Bob heard that, and he says, why don't you just keep that to yourself? Now, okay, whatever works. If that works in your marriage, good for you. Just don't call it biblical. And the sad part is, yes, they ended up getting divorced. But going back to my friend Bob, so what was more important to Bob? What the Bible said, or that he gets to have dominance over his wife? Which one was most important? It really wasn't what Scripture said. It's really that he gets to have power over his wife. That's the primary thing he wanted. And looking at the Bible through that lens, you're going to come up with a completely different interpretation. So, what's most important? Or another example, so I do this adult ed on Facebook on Tuesdays, right? But I also have a podcast where parishioners can write in questions, and the adult ed is for general stuff. The questions, somebody has a question, they write it in, and I'll answer on the podcast. And somebody wrote in this week, I haven't done this one, but they wrote in this week about how come you never talk about politics? Why not talk more about politics and how we should react to things in mass? And it's like, really don't want to get into that. And I don't want to get into that for this. It's kind of like the Bob thing. So it depends. And I know this sounds strange. Before you even say, what does religion say? What does God say? What does the Bible say? You have to ask yourself, what's the most important thing? Does your faith inform your politics, or does your politics inform your faith? Because if you read the Bible through the glasses of one particular political position, you're going to come up with a completely different interpretation. But what's most important is not politics, but what does God say? That's a completely different lens that you're looking for. And you'll hear what God is saying and apply it to your life. So the question again is, what's more important? Does politics inform your faith, or does faith inform your politics? Two different ways. So I just want to give those examples because in today's gospel, Jesus says some shocking things. In other translations, what Jesus will say is, you must hate your father and mother. He uses really strong language sometimes. You must hate your own family. Why does Jesus say that? Well, Jesus speaks sometimes in hyperbolic language, and that just means over-exaggeration. You people wouldn't be used to it because I never over-exaggerate. I would rather rip out my tongue from my head than ever exaggerate. But Christ over-exaggerates to make a point. And the same is the point that I was just making with Bob and politics. What is most important in your life? If you want to say that you believe in religion, but put on the lens that my family comes first, you're going to come up with a different interpretation. If you think the most important thing is that your clan is above God and religion, then you're going to come up with a much different view of religion. If you think that the most important is your little family and your bloodlines, you're really not going to hear what Christ has to say. You won't be listening to God. That's why Jesus takes such a harsh position. And so the role of religion is not to support your tiny family. It's actually to make us this force of love and life for the world. So actually what's going on in the gospel in the first reading is this theme of hospitality. Hospitality doesn't mean being a nice dinner guest. Hospitality is a theological concept in the Bible. In the Old Testament, the rule of hospitality or the law of hospitality is this. If you're hospitable to other people outside your group, if you can welcome other people, then God will grant you greater life. If the only ones you care about is your tiny little clan, then you'll lose what life you have. It's a very kind of Jewish Old Testament idea. And the Gospel of Matthew, and that's what we're studying this year, the Gospel of Matthew is written to Jews, so it's very Jewish. So the idea of hospitality is that you offer hospitality to others, and God grants you more life. So in the first reading, the woman who offers hospitality, a place of stay for the prophet, what she gets is greater life. In 1 year, she'll be holding a child, and that's what she wanted most. And the story actually continues. The more she's able to welcome, the more life and deeper life that she does have. That's a promise to us as well. But also this, if you choose to be superficial and only care for your own kind, then you'll only have superficial love. The sin against hospitality is, I will only care for my own children or my own family. Then actually, God won't grant you greater life. So what we want, when Christ in today's gospel, it looks like he's switching topics all over the place. It's not. It's really about hospitality. So after that, he goes on, if you welcome a prophet, you receive a prophet's award. You welcome one of these little ones, even if you offer just the tiniest bit to somebody, a cup of cold water to a thirsty person, God will grant you greater life. And I like that because our religion is supposed to give life. You give a little bit of life to somebody else, and we're rewarded with more of it. And he starts talking about reward and hospitality. And the reward, this is a very Jewish idea. We would say, well, you get your rewards at the end of your life when you go to heaven. And that is true. But the Jewish idea is that, no, you get the reward now. You offer hospitality to others, and God grants you a deeper life. That's your reward. You're able to welcome other people, your life becomes deeper. So when Jesus says, when people welcome you, because I sent you, they're welcoming me. They're welcoming the presence of Christ. You're able to welcome other people. You're welcoming the presence of Christ in these people and these people and these people. And your life becomes richer and richer and richer. So religion is not supposed to be about being nice to other people. That sounds like it's very polite. Religion is supposed to bring life. And no offense, if your primary thing is just about yourself, you getting power over your wife, or your clan has more power, it's a sin against religion. Religion is supposed to bring life and hospitality. So like the cup of water, you offer just the little bit of hospitality. God grants you even more life. Now, the Jewish idea is that it's deeper life now. But, I'm very Christian, so I kind of think of the afterlife. And you know I'm a little crazy where I love near-death experiences, like not having them. I love reading about them. I love when people tell me about them. And one story I really liked, it reminds me of the small cup of water. Because this woman, she dies, she goes through the tunnel, there's this great light, she feels incredible love, and in front of the light, you know the story, your whole life unfolds in front of you. But not just your whole life. You get to feel everything that you caused in your life, for good or bad. And what the light really likes is when you offer little bits of love to complete strangers. And the woman tells a story that once she's at the grocery store, and the box boy, for some reason, anyhow, he's boxing away, and she suddenly realizes he's going through something traumatic, and he's stressed out. So she puts her hand on his hand. This is before COVID. Puts her hand on his hand and says to him, life gets better. It gets better. And she said, I could feel what he felt when I said that he was depressed, and it gave him some oxygen. And in front of the light, I could feel all these things, especially the little tiny things. So yeah, I do believe every act of hospitality, it makes our life now richer. And I think once we reach our life in front of the light, we'll even be deeper rewarded. But religion isn't supposed to support my little group. Religion isn't supposed to be polite. Religion is supposed to be this force of hospitality that gives life to the world. And so, together, let us stand and profess our faith.